Investor Thompson is considering office premises for his new company. The current rent per square foot per year is $8.75. Last year, the same premises rented at $8.55. The landlord has informed Thompson of next year's rent being $9.05. What are the respective percentage increases from last year to this year and from this year to next year, rounded to 2 decimal points? How much rent will be paid next year if Thompson leases this 3,500 square foot office premises? Now this question, it kind of throws a lot of excess verbiage at you and says, here, do it. But if we take a step back and just, go in and pick out the important bits of information, we can understand that this question is really not too complex. So first off, what is the question asking? The question is asking, first of all, it's telling you, this is the price for last year, this is the price for this year, this is the price for next year. Given those pieces of information, I want you to tell me how much the price has risen from last year to this year and will rise from this year to next year. And then in addition to that, we want what the price will be per square foot. So let's organize it like this. So you can say last year, this year, and next year. And then you can put all the different prices. You can say, okay, this year's $8.75. Last year was $8.55. And next year is $9.05. Okay? So you go like this. And then you say, okay, well, I want to determine the percentage increase from last year to this year. Well, how do I do that? Well, what you would do is you take this year's price, subtract last year's price, and what do we get? That's $8.75, so it's 0.2 is what we get. So this is how much, 0.2 is how much the price has increased from last year to this year. Okay, but they want it in a percentage. So what does 0.2 represent relative to last year's rent? So how do we do that? We simply take 0.2 and divide it by 8.55. And what does that give us?
How come you divide it?
I'll show you in one sec. Okay, so essentially what we do is first we ask, what is it that we're trying to obtain? We're trying to obtain the percentage increase in rent that occurred from last year to this year. And in order to do that, we first have to obtain the amount, the actual specific amount of money that has increased from last year to this year. And so what we do is we take the rent for this year and we subtract it by what the rent was last year. And the difference is the increase. Now we say, okay, now that we have the specific amount of money, the increase in rent, we now want to see how much does that constitute, or how much does that represent relative to last year's price. And what we would do is we would take the increase and divide it by last year's rent. And in so doing, we would determine what it represents, how much of it constitutes in the original rent. Okay, so that makes sense now?
Yeah.
Okay, so that number, I believe, is 0.234%. Tell me if you get the same thing.
Yeah. And then times by 100.
Right. And so how do the same calculation, but I want you to tell me the increase in value in rent as a percentage from this year to next year.
Same this question, same question. So
Yeah,
same
but what we just did was we got the percentage increase from last year to this year. Now I'm asking you what the percentage increase will be from this year to next year.
Oh, okay. So then I would have to take the 9.5,
And
subtract it by the last year, which is 8.75.
perfect. And then the answer to that question, what do you do with the answer to that question?
Then I would divide it by 8.55.
No.
Sorry, 8.75.
Way to go. Perfect. Okay, so you're good with that?
Yes.
Okay, so the next and last part of the question asks us to say how much rent will be paid next year if Thompson leases 3,500 square foot office premises. So this is a very easy question. How would you do this last part?
Times it by 9.05.
Perfect.